Single most important factor in a Nebraska victory on Saturday over Michigan. We've got it.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today.
All right, welcome. It is Thursday here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Connor Happer from 1620 The Zone, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. This is really serving as our preview episode because tomorrow we have the mailbag on Friday. Get your questions in for that. If you haven't yet, we could probably still use a few more of it at this point. At least we haven't asked as of now. So today on the show, we'll talk about our keys to victory. And we are set to be joined by a very special guest on the podcast as well. Stay tuned for that here in just a couple minutes. We got some good reception to when our dear young friend Brady joined us a couple weeks ago. So
this can't be as good as that. We set the bar too high with the first guest of football season, but
yeah,
hopefully this will appease people.
Yeah. All right. So I love this week because we've been talking about the actual game and the kind of ins and outs and the X's and O's and the matchups and where can one team take advantage of something and where could the other team take advantage of a thing as well. So I'm excited to ask you, Mitch, what do you think this game hinges on? What are the one or two things you're looking at on Saturday? If Nebraska wins that battle, they'll have a good chance to win the game.
So you ever have one of those moments where it just hits you? Like, how long have we been thinking about this Michigan game? Really, since we saw Nebraska's schedule for 2025, which was like 10 months ago, and you saw, Michigan's coming to Lincoln to open the Big Ten. That'll be interesting. And then we got into the summer and we talked about it more. And then we got to a place where Michigan suspended its coach for this first game. And we thought, that's interesting. He's not going to coach the Big Ten opener. So through all of that, I had thoughts about the game, but I don't know that they had really crystallized until yesterday. So Wednesday is generally a heavy riding day for me. So I was at home most of the day, don't have to go to Lincoln for media availability. I went out around lunch to grab a sandwich, and I stopped at the gas station to get a fountain soda. And I went up to the counter with the cup in my hand. You have no idea where this is going.
No,
the guy at the counter who recognizes me, he's like, my sports writer friend. And I'm like, hi. And I hold up my drink, like, can I pay for my drink? And he kind of gives me this nod, like, go ahead. The drink's on me today, which is like every third or fourth drink that comes through the line. Except in exchange for that, he goes, so what do you think about the game on Saturday? So since he gave me a free 95-cent drink, I have to then talk to him, which is fine. Are
you saying that this price is not worth it?
I think it's a good deal. I think it's a good deal. So that's when it crystallized in my head. That's when it came into my head. Like, I know what the key to Nebraska winning on Saturday against Michigan is. And for whatever reason, he said something, they got that quarterback who can run the ball. And I said, you know what Nebraska needs to do this Saturday? It needs to do one of two things. Nebraska either must hold Michigan down in the run game, or Nebraska must be able to run the ball well itself. If it can do one of those two things, just one, you don't have to do both. If you get beat in both areas at the line of scrimmage, running the ball, offense and defense, Nebraska will lose. If it can do one of those two things, I think Nebraska wins.
I love this. Is
that profound or what?
Yeah, I love how you went on this whole journey just to say they need to stop the run and run the ball. One or the other.
I'll even say, and I didn't come up with this at the gas station, but I'll even say Nebraska needs to hold Michigan under 4 yards per carry, or itself, Nebraska must gain 5 yards per carry.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's a little bit more specific. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I mean, they're going to want to do what they do first, and then we'll see if they unleash Bryce Underwood and all that stuff. Although from the quotes this week, it seems like they're gonna let him go. So, we'll see how Nebraska's able to run it as well. That's an incomplete answer from what we've gotten over the first 3 games too. I think, from looking at these two teams so far this year, both of them on the defensive side are just going to go absolutely nuts with blitzing. I mean, so they are going. Wink Martindale has that in his background, 10 times over. And I don't think John Butler at Nebraska has shown it much this year. And I think there could be a reason why. Because they haven't felt like they've needed to, obviously, over the last couple of weeks. It's led to Nebraska being a little lackluster in the explosive plays on defense category. And you got a freshman quarterback, and he's dangerous if you don't wrap him up early. So I think for both teams, much like you say, Mitch, it's about, running the ball and stopping the run. It's about getting home on the blitz and handling the blitz, defensively then to offensively. So I feel good about Nebraska's ability to hang in there on pass pro on offense.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do think Dylan's probably going to have to make some plays, whether that's extending a play or making a play with his feet, or, getting the ball downfield to his receivers. So I kind of like how Nebraska stacks up there. I just know that Michigan is going to bring some heat. So it's about how Nebraska handles it. And then for them on defense, they obviously have to get home. I mean, they have to get home on the defensive side of the ball, because I don't think they could generate pressure in like the conventional way where they just, rush 3 or 4 and get to the quarterback. So they're going to be bringing it from a bunch of different angles. They have to have their defensive backs cover, which they've done a pretty good job at so far this year. So, we'll see. I think that's a huge key in this one.
We saw Marquess Watson-Trent, the inside linebacker, on a blitz last week where he took to the air, left his feet, and sacked the quarterback. That's the kind of stuff Nebraska is going to have to execute. So your key is who can execute the blitz better?
Yeah, basically. I mean, who gets home more? I mean, that will probably tell you your answer, right? So Michigan's quarterback is more evasive than Nebraska's quarterback, but that doesn't mean Nebraska's quarterback can't be more productive when they send things at him. So it's going to be a big cat and mouse game to see when that pressure comes and how hard it comes.
This is really interesting because this could involve Ernest Hausman in a really important part of the game. Definitely. The ex-Nebraska linebacker now at Michigan. And if he becomes a big factor and has a sack or two, that's going to be, I'd like to see what the reaction is in the stadium. And that could be a game changer, like literally and figuratively. So, okay. I like it. We both have one now. So now we're actually talking substantive stuff after months football. Football, after months of just banter about this game. It's real substance. So, all right, we're going to cut short this first segment because our guest is here waiting in the wings, and we want to spend as much time with him as possible. So we will take a quick break, read a couple of ads, and then we will be back to talk with our mystery guest that we have been touting now for like a whole week. That is coming up next. Right now, it's almost the weekend, and it's time to look back and recognize another MVP for Nebraska. Who delivered this week? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more time every time you order. This player delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Nebraska in this segment, it's Quentin Ives. He delivered in a big way. The backup running back took the load off of Emmett Johnson. In the past 2 games, he's had 2 touchdowns. Had a touchdown against Houston Christian, ran for a career-high 85 yards. When the pressure was on, Quentin Ives came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, it wasn't a performance. He's on a streak. And just like Quentin Ives delivered for Nebraska, DoorDash delivers for you on Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th.
And I want to take a second to talk to you about FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So why not take a look at tonight in the NFL, Bills and Dolphins. Okay, so the Bills are 11.5-point favorites, but this is where you could get into the weeds a little bit. You can get into your anytime touchdown scores. Both James Cook and Josh Allen are minus 180 and 175 respectively for anytime touchdown scores. Maybe pick the one Dolphin that might score tonight. Devon Achane plus 105, Tyreek Hill plus 165. You could go there at that direction or any other you'd like with the FanDuel Sportsbook. And remember, it's quick and easy and the best way to add a little bit more energy to whether it's your Thursday night, your Saturday, or your Sunday. So you are ready to play right now. Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet today.
All right, there he is. We are pleased to be welcomed now. By the way, welcome back, Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer with you, Locked On Nebraska podcast on this Thursday episode. A familiar voice on Omaha radio, a familiar face on television around the state with ESPN since 2012 as a studio host, radio personality, play-by-play voice. It is none other than Matt Schick. Matt, welcome to the Locked On Nebraska podcast.
It is great to be with you guys. Great to be with you in person. Great to hear your voices. Thank you for not making me wait too long in the waiting room. But you guys put on a great, you guys put on a great first 8 minutes, and I did like the Connor. You did put on you did sum it up really well. Mitch kind of. You asked him to tell you the time. He told you how to build a watch, and then wound up telling you, stop the run and run the ball. Right. So that was good. That was really good.
Matt, it's great to meet you.
Yes, likewise.
So, by the way, I'm glad that you appreciated our analysis, our deep analysis of the game in the first segment. So we've been like, I don't know. I feel like I've been following you around from like the jobs that you had when you were in Omaha. So this is kind of weird. And apparently you didn't know I existed until a couple weeks ago on the podcast on your podcast.
Okay, all right. I knew I knew you existed. But it's like there are some voices where I'm like, okay, that's that guy. Okay, that's because not meeting these people in person and not living in Omaha. I always have to think about, okay, that voice is who, that voice is who. But yes, you have done jobs that I have done, and it's great. I mean, I really left it in good hands, especially with your analysis.
Connor tried to do like a funny bit on camera with Terrence Crawford a few weeks ago, just to follow in your footsteps. And somewhat surprisingly, like he didn't get the same kind of treatment and access that you did to Bud when he was 16 years old.
You know what's funny? Like that Bud Crawford thing, and it's online now. But he was, I think, he was 16 years old. I looked like I was 15 years old. And I remember getting a call saying, hey, there's this young fighter. Do you want to do this story? And you're always looking for stuff to do. So I'm like, all right, we're going to do two stories, one serious, one funny, and we're going to get as much juice out of this as we can. And I remember going into the boxing club there where he was working out, and I had never met him before. I'm like, here's the script I'd like you to read. Here's this give and take we're going to do. He's like, he'd never done really any media before. And so we did it. He did a stare down. He pulled it off well, and it still lives out there in the interwebs. I wonder what he thinks about it right now. I don't know.
I wonder if he thinks anything about it.
It probably hasn't thought about it off his radar at the moment.
Yeah, perhaps.
How many would you have done a bit with Archie Wilson already if you were still working at KTV?
That would have been so fun. We love to do this. I love to do those scripted stories with Nebraska. I remember doing Zach Taylor with the one perfect pass that he threw for Wake Forest because he was 1 for 1 with a completion in his time at Wake Forest. And so when he got to Nebraska, I said, let's reenact that pass. So we'd had some fun with that. Took long snapper Lane Kelly grocery shopping, and he's hiking a loaf of bread through his legs. We actually did a story one time that never aired for Nebraska. We had taped it preseason. It was about how Jordan Congdon had been working out and can kick like 70-yard field goals. And we had camera tricks where he's kicking from the opposite 20, and then I threw the ball through the net up close, and it went through, and he's high-fiving Lane Kelly. We never aired it because he did not have a good season. Like, we never aired the story. So with this one, with Archie Wilson, that would have been a great story to do about just how, he's really enjoying being able to contribute with the team and just show him cheering on the sidelines. I think that would have been a great.
Right, he hasn't done anything in 3 weeks.
That's right. His parents travel 9,000 miles. It's really sad, but they don't get to see him play except in the victory formation.
Yes, you saw him in the victory formation, and his parents will be at the Michigan game on Saturday. So, and they're planning to be at the UCLA game. So, although he may not punt in that game too, the way things are going for the Bruins. So, Matt is of course talking about his days at KETV when he did these incredibly funny sketches with famous athletes, or at least famous around the state of Nebraska. You talk about the Lane Kelly, the first gentleman of Nebraska volleyball these days. But I must also mention your wonderful podcast, the Schick and Nick Show. I think many of our listeners and viewers are well acquainted. For those who are not, I cannot begin to explain it. It won't make any sense. So just go and check it out for like 10 episodes and maybe you'll get there. If not, sorry.
Yeah.
So a shout out and a high five to you guys, you and Nick Baugh, for involving our little show on your podcast a couple weeks ago. It was the motivation for us to reach out to you to have you on here. We loved hearing Nick spend 5 minutes saying Connor's name and then laughing at his story about the elevator at Memorial Stadium.
Yes. Well, I admire you greatly for doing fantastic. for the reference there for the Schick and Nick pod. Yes, you cannot listen to one episode. If you listen to one episode, you'll never get into it. It's got to be 5 to 10. And then if you don't get it after 10, listen to 10 more. And then after that, then I would listen to 10 more after that. So I think you'll have some fun with it. But yeah, Mitch is a part of it. Mitch called in. We had Mitch on as a guest when Nick Baugh and I, who's now with Fox Sports and I'm doing ESPN, but we used to work for 1620 The Zone in Omaha, and we would have weekly guests. And Mitch we'd have on periodically. And at one point, you told Nick to calm down. I think it was because of the love he had for Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, I had claimed Rex previously.
Yeah, he was infringing on your, man crush love interest, and you said, "Calm down, Nick." And we've taken calm down, and we have made calm down. Like, people, even my wife Kelly will say, "Hey, just Mitch Sherman a little bit." I'm like, "All right, I will." So you certainly live on.
Go ahead, Mitch. I was going to say my other great moment on the Schick and Nick pod is from the 2020 Nebraska-Ohio State game, where I got confusingly called out by Scott Frost during a Zoom in the press box. Are you by yourself?
Yes, you're doing the post-game news conference, and he's answering your question. You're up in the press box, the Zoom stuff, which I like this Zoom, but that was awful. But he's going, "Are you by yourself?" in the midst of his answer. Like, what? Like, I'm up here in the press box. He's like, "By yourself?" It's like he was almost checking on you to make sure that no one was within 6 feet.
So
of you.
weird.
I don't know.
It was so weird because we didn't have that kind of relationship, Scott and I. But he was giving me a hard time because I didn't have the mask on over my mouth and nose, which is hard to do when you're trying to speak into a microphone and ask a question. So
I forgot about that one. That's a good one. Are you by yourself? That was super weird. Schick, I don't think that, I don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't understand like the chokehold that your guys' show has on like all of the local media. Like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I can't say anything on my show. Sometimes I do your guys' drops on accident. Also, the presence of your guys' show, like all the drops are still in there. I look at the wall like every day. Like, it's most of it is
the wall of our show's drops is still. Does the wall exist, or
there was a bunch of it, but we had like a next gen crash like a couple of years ago or something like that. So a lot of it went away, but a lot of the stuff is still in there. It's just like 50-50 on whether it exists or not.
Like when I do want to say, like, just to clarify, like, it was a couple of weeks ago or a week and a half ago when you referenced, like, you'll say something and anyone listening would go, "What are you talking about? Like, why did he say that? Oh, whatever." And then turn the page and go to the next thing. When you were talking about the last time, it was after, I think it was the Akron game, you said, hey, Nebraska has put up X amount of points, and the last time they did this was against Idaho State or Idaho. And then you referenced, oh, maybe it was Wyoming. No, it was Idaho State. I got into an argument with someone in the elevator about it. That is a reference to a caller that Schick and Nick had back in 2012, a caller who we did a contest on the show counting down the 100 plays in 100 days. And we would just pick random plays leading up to the start of the Husker football season. Like it could be a third down stop. And it was like 6 seconds long. We'd say, what was that play? What was the opponent? A caller calls up and says, I want to say it was Idaho or Idaho State. I'm not sure what it was. I forget the name of the team. I apologize. Or it was Wyoming or Montana. No, it wasn't Wyoming. It was Montana. I apologize. And then it has a deep breath. The call lasted 12 and a half seconds. And it has been a legendary phone call. And you incorporated it. We don't know where caller Chris has gone, but we play that all the time. And then you incorporated it into your Locked On Nebraska podcast. Like that's a hat tip to you.
Well,
the
original part of it was like that. I was just in an elevator with a guy, and he was arguing with me about whether it was Idaho or Idaho State, and so I was inside of the drop, and I didn't even realize it was a drop inception. It was crazy. And then Mitch obviously was like, he did the Montana.
Wyoming
like, oh yeah, this is so happening right now. So yeah,
so good.
All right, before we let you go, 60 seconds. It doesn't have to be 60 seconds, but
yeah,
I'm as part of your job, you do Big Ten programming on SiriusXM. So real quick, your thoughts, because we did this Michigan week. We're like, oh, we can have Matt on, and it's the week of a big game at Memorial Stadium. So we just got done in the first segment, as you heard me laboriously discuss. We just got done saying what our single most important key to a Nebraska victory is in this game. What is it for you?
I'll give you two. One is making sure Jayshon Barham doesn't wreck Dylan Raiola a couple of snaps, because one snap can lead to two, can lead to three, i.e. the Illinois game last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they've got enough along that defensive front to, if you pay too much attention to him, then, you could have a couple of other guys along that defensive front, like a Derek Moore, who hasn't lived up to, maybe hasn't put up the stats that he's hoped to coming into this season, but a guy like him could impact the game. So I would say making sure that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of this is, if you go back to the Oklahoma-Michigan game, the person that impacted the game in the run game the most was John Mateer. And he was like the Bryce Underwood in that game, where, 19 carries, and it's not like he was gaining a ton of yards, but he was making things difficult on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Raiola isn't like that. He might be asked to do a couple of those things, but to me, this is the Justice Haynes Emmett Johnson game. Like, this is those two guys are going to define the outcome of this game. Haynes has 3 straight games with 100+ yards and a touchdown. Emmett Johnson, I like that they didn't work him too much last week. It's just maybe a dozen carries, but Emmett Johnson has to have a ton of fingerprints on this game, because that will allow, this defense, which is really talented for Nebraska, to be kept honest and make life a little easier for Dylan Raiola. So Emmett Johnson to me is the key offensively, and defensively, it's on the Michigan side, it's to make sure that Barham doesn't impact the game too much.
Quickly, you're pretty high. Listen to your guys' pod. You're pretty high on Nebraska. Like you like him this year.
I do. I think 9 wins is the minimum for this team. And I think, and I have them winning this game. This game determines whether 9 wins is the floor. If they win, 9 wins is the floor, and I don't think you even have to apologize or defend it. This is all shaping up to, and I talked about this a couple of days ago on Big Ten Radio, on Channel 372, by the way, that that's this. We have the conversation about Penn State about, hey, if not now, when for Penn State, with all the returners they have, and Singleton and Allen and Aller, and having the same coordinator on offense, bringing in Jim Knowles. If they don't do it now, when are they going to do it? I think it's fair to have that conversation about Nebraska for games like this, Michigan doesn't have their head coach. Bryce Underwood is only a few games into his career. It's his second road start. We see him flounder a little bit in his first road start. And Nebraska has a much more experienced quarterback, much more, significantly more. And in year 3 with their head coach on the sidelines and a ton of development going on, it kind of feels like we're inching toward that, especially at home. Nebraska has not covered in their last 6 home games against ranked teams. Like that's one of those things where if not now, when for Nebraska? I think the time is now. If it doesn't happen, there are no alarm bells going off here. I think Nebraska is going to be fine, but this shapes up for a Nebraska win where they're going to face some adversity and probably come down to the final 2 minutes of the game.
Do you like Matt Rule, the podcaster? What do you think of Matt Rule, the podcaster?
I love the fact that the one thing I notice about him is he stands up and he does everything on his feet. Like he's doing the walk and talks for Nebraska media. And then he does the stand-up podcasting, which I just sit all day. Like I feel like I need one of those extension microphones where I can stand and do it. He speaks from authority when he's got his hands on the desk and he's upright and he's standing here and he's just leaning in. Like I look like I know what I'm talking about. Like it's like I'm a workbench and I'm a craftsman. That's what Matt Rule's doing. I'm impressed. I think he's really good. Apparently, he's showing all of us.
He's showing all of us that it's not that hard. He's making a mockery out of all of our jobs.
You know what's funny? He does these news conferences. Like, I wonder if he's up there going, "This is so easy." Like, just like, sure. You have a question. You have a question. Why don't you work on your gift of gab? Why don't you form that question? Economy of words, guys. Like he's so good at it that I'm sure he'd be in a pulpit if he wasn't at the lectern giving talks to the media.
Yep. He gets up there. He talks about whatever the heck he wants, which he's a pro talker. So good. Matt, it's great to meet
Matt, Connor, Happer, and Mitch. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for coming on, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
That is Matt Schick, and we'll be back with a couple predictions after this. You want to remind people about some Mazda, Mitch? I think it's
I do.
Right?
Yes. Sorry, I was removing Matt from the studio there. Mazda,
kick him out.
It gave me the option to ban him from the studio. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, Mazda. Let's talk about it. Mazda crafts cars for those people who do more than simply move. Check out Mazda's lineups of vehicles for a fit that will work for you. Mazda delivers with every ride. It has more IIHS top safety pick awards than any other company as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every model. Feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. With smooth handling to intuitive controls, it's easy to enjoy your time behind the wheel of a Mazda. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you will drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the athletes you watch, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved.
All right, here we go. Nebraska, Michigan, 2:30 Saturday, Memorial Stadium, CBS. Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler on the call. It's one of the national games of the week. It's obviously a helmet game, and it's a big one for the Huskers. So let's start with a couple player props first. Dylan Raiola's passing yards, 231.5.
I'm going to go under on this. I talked in the first segment about the importance for Nebraska to run the ball. I don't think this is going to necessarily be a 400-yard day for Nebraska offensively, so I think balance is important, and I'm going to say under 231.
Yeah, I'm going to say over. I wonder how much Nebraska will be able to commit to their run game. And I think their best option to get yards is Dylan Raiola's right arm. So I'm going to go over. Emmett Johnson touches. Woo, this is a sizable number, 31.5.
Well, you remember he had 32 against Cincinnati. So that's where I set the number, saying, is he going to equal that number? Sticking with the theme, over 31.5. It's not going to be a lot over that, but I think he's going to match or exceed his total in week 1.
I'm going to say under because I think they'll do a lot of stuff they'll be able to do a lot of stuff with the other backs in the screen game. I just think that's going to be a huge part of this game, given what I talked about with the blitzers earlier. So there's going to be opportunities to get Mosey going. And so I'll go under here.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is they trust Emmett in pass protection, and it's going to be hard to take him out of the game for that reason, because if you put Ives or Mosey or Nelson in there and there is a blitz, then you're going to have to be very careful about making sure they know their assignments, or it's going to be TJ Lateef time. Michigan passing yards, 149.5.
And that's, I know Nebraska hasn't allowed 70 in a game yet, but it's a pretty low number. I'll go over.
Okay.
Nebraska can have a great day on defense, and that number could still go over.
Yeah, I mean, Underwood hasn't put up huge numbers in the past game. He did last week against CMU, which doesn't really count. It counts much like Houston Christian counts for Nebraska. I'm going to say under, because I think Michigan's going to have a very specific game plan here and try to exploit what it believes is an edge in this game. So I don't think they're going to throw it a ton. I think Nebraska's secondary will do what Nebraska's secondary does and limit those pass yards.
Bryce Underwood rushing yards. He didn't show much of it in the first 2 games and then ran for over 100 last week against Central Michigan. 64.5 is the number we're setting it at.
This is maybe the most important one on here. I'm going to say over. Oh, he's going to get to 65 yards.
Yeah, I think that's really a pretty good number. There's still a lot though for a quarterback. I think they'll try and be conventional with it. Gosh. But man, some of the comments this week makes you think that they're going to, he'll go. Okay, let's say over, but I don't know. Yeah, let's just say over. All right.
Archie Wilson, a lot riding on that.
Archie Wilson punts. He didn't punt either the last 2 weeks. We're going to put the number at 4.5 this week.
I'm going to say under. I think Nebraska will continue to do what it's shown and be able to move the football. I mean, he's going to punt, but probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I'll say 5. You get in the 5 and 6 territory. That's kind of a lot of punts. Let's say under, probably like you said, Mitch, in the 3 or 4 range.
I'm actually going to switch it. I'm actually going to switch it up to over because I'm thinking about my score that I have that's coming up here in a second, and I'm going to say over. I say he will punt 5 times.
Yeah, I'm thinking about when I think about punts, like I think about possessions. How many possessions are you going to have? And it could be a lower possession game.
That's part of that is about limiting turnovers too. If you don't turn the ball over, you're going to have more punts in a lot of instances in a game like this.
Which brings us into our next question. We'll go back to the points one. Will Nebraska win the turnover battle? A very important stat on Saturday.
I'll say yes. I will say Nebraska wins the turnover battle is +1 in the turnover category.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think Michigan has the ability to put it in harm's way more with the way that they're operating right now. So right. Yeah, I agree. And then who scores? Who scores first points in the game? Either team.
Kyle Cunanan scores the first points in the game. Nebraska gets on the board in the first quarter with a field goal. It'll be 3-0 at the end of the first quarter is my bold, very specific prediction.
Okay, I like that. How about Justice Haynes, the Michigan running back?
Ooh,
he scores a touchdown, and everyone gets real sad. But it'll
be we got 4 games to pick, starting with Michigan -2.5 at Nebraska. Over/unders 46.5, 2:30 p.m. CBS.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Nebraska to win the. I'm gonna take Nebraska to win the football game. I'm gonna say they win it 26-21, and everybody's partying, and we're talking about the playoff on Monday.
I'm gonna say 24-20 Nebraska. So we're pretty close on that. We both, of course, have Nebraska covering. You've got the overhitting barely, and I have it going under.
Okay.
Big Ten game of the week. This one is Saturday night. 6:30 NBC. Legitimately serious playoff implications in this game. Number 9 Illinois is a 5.5-point underdog at number 19 Indiana.
Yeah, I'm happy to fade Indiana at any turn necessary. So give me Illinois. I love that I'm getting 5.5 points here.
Yeah, I'm going to take the home team. Hoosiers win by At least 6. Signetti fever goes up another level. It's not the storyline that I love because we saw it last year, but hey, it's real. He's a good coach. I think they win this one. They're not going to go undefeated in the regular season. Our national game of the week. This is where Fox Big Noon is headed. Texas Tech, Joey McGuire, 2.5-point underdogs at Utah. Of course, this game kicks off at 11 a.m. on Fox.
Yeah, Utah's been a sneaky team this year. Devin Dampier is, one of the more electric players in the country. So give me the Utes here. I know people will look at Texas Tech and, be talking about Texas Tech basically all summer and Baron Morton and all those guys. So I'll go with Utah here, getting, to cover the 3.
I also like the Utes. I think that's the team that not enough people in the Big 12 are talking about. I don't know who people are talking about in the Big 12. Texas Tech, maybe Iowa State.
They wanted to talk about K-State, but they've just sucked to start the year.
The curse of Ireland. The curse of losing in Ireland has hit the Cats hard. All right, a bonus. This is the hot seat game of the week. Added this to the lineup. Maybe we'll do this weekly now that coaches are getting fired. Florida is a 7.5-point underdog at Miami, 6:30 on ABC. Canes are a top 5 team, I believe. I didn't put their ranking in here.
4, I think.
Florida 4th. Florida is 1-2 after the losses to USF and to LSU. Brian Kelly, by the way, came out and apologized for his antics after the game. So we talked about that and got on him a little bit on the Monday or Tuesday pod. So just wanted to point that out and be fair to BK.
Florida is another team that I enjoy saying is going to lose, and I will say that again here, and I will say that Miami covers.
Yeah, I think so. I think Florida's in the tank. And we put this on here as the hot seat game of the week because some things are probably happening with Billy Napier sooner rather than later. And this is not going to aid his cause if the Gators drop to 1-3 with more big time matchups on the SEC. You step out of conference when you're Florida here at a tough juncture in the season, and there's a top 5 team in-state rival waiting for you. It's like it just seems set up for problems.
Well, yeah, they could not afford to lose the South Florida game given what their schedule was. It really lines up pretty poorly for you when you lose one that you're not supposed to. So I think Billy is not long for that Florida job anymore. Okay. Thanks for listening today. Thanks to Matt Schick for joining us, our dear friend Matt. Thanks for joining the show, and we'll continue to follow in your footsteps and probably mention drops and stuff like that. And we'll talk to you tomorrow for the mailbag show. It's another big moment for Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekend preview. Drake Toll, Gary Patterson, Jesse Holly, and Locked On's local experts have you covered. You can catch it every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV.